I grew up in a pretty conservative community. I had yet to find out that my family's particular brand of Christianity was of the evangelical fundamentalist sort. In fact, in my private Christian school in high school, I was told that the students in public school were sinners and that I shouldn't associate with them. Now, growing up, I wholeheartedly believed everything that they told me in church. It was kind of implied that I shouldn't question it, and since I was so young at that age, how would I have been qualified to question it? You know, it was almost as if truth wasn't simple enough for a child to see it. You had to be a scholar. So the only way that you could find truth was to find a scholar or a pastor who had gone to seminary and who could teach you about all the things in the Bible and explain away all of its many inaccuracies and contradictions. I mean, if we're going by that philosophy when we're talking about religious things, wasn't it sort of like Martin Luther and the printing press? Like, before the creation of the printing press, people just had to rely on the leaders giving information rather than the actual text. And I feel like every time I talk about this with a Christian in real life, they'll be like, yes, absolutely, read the Bible for yourself, do your own research. But when people do that, they become atheists. In a conversation with a close relative, I've sort of been skeptical about the Bible pretty publicly. I said something along the lines of, I just don't know if God is real. I mean, it's not like I've met him and shaken his hand. And this person's argument was, well, have you met Abraham Lincoln? No? So how do you know he's real if you haven't met him? The lack of intelligence from that argument, it sounds to me, just like or it would be something like, oh, I heard you're struggling with the Bible. I'll be praying for you. Now, I know when people say this, they mean well, and I think sometimes these people are genuinely loving and they're genuinely concerned, which we will go over at the end of this video. But from an outsider perspective, this seems incredibly condescending. I wish I could be encouraged and just be like, yeah, totally. Search for yourself. The truth is truth, and it'll be there whether you like it or not. Another weird experience that I've had with this is one time I went on a date with a very devout Christian man. One of his first questions that he asked me on our first date was, do you believe the Bible is the inerrant word of God? And do you believe that Jesus' resurrection was physical? Like, I was 17 at the time. What? I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, inerrant? Who? Resurrection, physical, what? And I honestly forget what I answered to those questions, but I just know on our second date, he led the conversation with, well, I asked my pastor, my father, and my college professors if you could still be a Christian and believe those things, and they said, I guess so we can probably still date. He also said that his mom would corner me at some point in our courtship, and his mom would make me take a spiritual gifts quiz. And he also said that his sister's spiritual gift was to astutely know the mind of God. And I'm a heretic. I grew up watching very capable church leaders get fired because they believed in a local flood instead of a worldwide flood. And basically, if you don't know what I mean by that, Noah with all the animals in the ark, and God sends a flood to destroy mankind. So some people believe that it happened in one specific spot on Earth, and God didn't actually wipe out the entire planet with this flood. And others believe that it had to be a worldwide flood or else the Bible is not inerrant. I also watched my youth pastor openly make fun of just gay weddings, because they didn't understand how gay weddings worked. Like, what are we doing here? I was also told that evolution is Satan's way of getting at our generation, of like disproving the Bible. Popular Christian theologian Tim Keller also believes that evolution is compatible with the Bible. And in this video, I'm not saying any of these beliefs are true or false. I am merely proving the fact that you can be a Christian and believe differently from your other Christians. You do not have to define your entire life and your life choices by someone else interpreting the Bible. So you guessed it, myth number one is that all Christians have to believe the same thing. Yes, mainstream Christianity in America usually believes that the Bible is the inerrant word of God, that it is without contradiction or error. The common beliefs usually are being gay is a sin, women shouldn't have the right to choose on what to do with their bodies, aka the abortion issue, and evolution is a work of the devil. I know people who believe all these things, and I would not say they're hateful for a second. In fact, I've heard them say that the truth isn't pleasant, the truth isn't loving, the truth is something that not a lot of people want to hear, and they sort of grit their teeth and say the truth anyway. And even though I do disagree with their beliefs, I do have a certain amount of respect for people who have these beliefs, but present them in a very loving, respectful way. Dr. Julie Slattery or Sean McDowell, who have very conflicting beliefs from what I think is right, but I very much respect them because they're incredibly loving in their approach. And yes, you can be a Christian and believe that the Bible has a lot of inaccuracies. All in all, I'm really glad that I went on this journey. No, I'm still going through it. That I'm going through this journey. I am a Christian. I just disagree with a lot of mainstream Christian beliefs, which I will go over in another video. Hopefully I'm not called a heretic. Anyway,